Hey Nerd Hatters, I want to share with you 3 mistakes I made in my musical theater auditions so you don't have to. First mistake I made, it was a musical I really loved, and for some reason I thought, you know what, I just want to show them that I have a beautiful voice. So I went in there, I sang my song. After I was done auditioning, I actually asked the casting director for feedback, and she told me, you know, you should get some voice lessons so that way you can really build out your voice and have more power behind it. I thanked her for the advice. I turned around, and as I was walking out, I felt this compulsion that I should just turn around and belt out a song, because I can belt. I can really sing loudly. I knew in that moment that I had failed. I didn't turn back around, partly because the song that I thought of was something that was actually from the musical. And when you go in for an audition, say you're going to audition for Wicked or Phantom of the Opera, you don't sing a song from that actual musical unless they ask for that. Usually they don't. So I really encourage you guys to remember, learn from my mistake. When you go in to sing for an audition, make sure that the song that you choose is in line, it's in the same vein, the same feeling as that musical. Second mistake I made, another audition another friend had told me about that they saw and they encouraged me to go out for, was for The Lion King. I was waiting there and I suddenly started getting a very dry throat. I'm like, oh, I'm looking around and there's not a water fountain anywhere in sight. And there I was just trying to swallow so that way my throat could have some type of moisture in it. I must have been getting nervous, but one of the lessons I learned from that is I definitely should always take with me a water bottle. And you want to make sure that you're drinking little sips throughout, and at least 20 minutes before, because in order to get properly hydrated, like, it takes time. You can't just take like a drink of water and expect to be fully hydrated then. So again, you just want to make sure you're pacing that out, but always take with you a water bottle. The third mistake I made in my musical theater audition was showing up without sheet music, even though the audition notice said I didn't need to bring sheet music. I was auditioning for the musical Spider-Man, and it said for the narrator, someone who had a rock or a Middle Eastern style voice. I'm like, oh, perfect, I know what I'm gonna sing. Shakira's Ojos Así. She's a Spanish rock artist, although most people might know her more as like pop nowadays in American music. But she also has a Middle Eastern background herself, and there was actually, I believe, Arabic words in the song. So I'm like, that's a perfect song because it has that same feel, and that's what they're looking for. And because it said that I didn't need to bring sheet music, I didn't worry about trying to find sheet music somewhere online, because I only found out the audition the night before. So I showed up for the audition, I sang the song, and I felt like I killed it. I was for sure that I was going to get moved on to the second round there. And their second round was actually being sent over to sing for the other room that was also holding auditions. And when I finished singing my song, the 2 casting directors were talking amongst, or the 2 ladies at the table were talking amongst themselves, and then they turned to the pianist. And I'm like, okay, what are they talking about? What's going on? And then after they spoke to the pianist, they turned back towards me and they said, you know, it really would have been helpful if you brought in the sheet music. And I expressed them, I'm like, oh, but the posting said I didn't need to have sheet music with me. And in that moment, I realized that even though they wanted someone who could sing rock and kind of give a Middle Eastern vibe in their singing, it was probably not a musical style or a cultural singing that they were used to. So they were really dependent on the sheet music to know, was I actually hitting the right notes? And so that is something that I definitely learned, that if I ever go in for a musical theater audition again, to make sure I have my sheet music, but especially for if it ends up being for a genre that's not typically sung. I'm here in the United States. So learn from my mistakes, don't repeat those, so that way you can have a great musical theater audition. And I look forward to seeing your guys' work on the screen.